My name is Mandy, and this is my story. Please subscribe to this channel for more captivating stories. I was living a simple life in the village when my elder sister, Sarah, asked me to come to the city to help her look after her kids. She was juggling her demanding job as a banker and striving for a promotion, leaving little time for her husband, Mike, and their children. I gladly agreed, eager to lend a helping hand to my sister and spend time with my adorable nieces and nephews. I happily packed my bags because I was already tired of the village and doing farm work. Little did I know, my life was about to take an unexpected turn. When I arrived in the city, I was greeted by Sarah and her husband, Mike. I could sense tension in the air as Mike seemed hesitant about my presence. It wasn't until later that I learned he hadn't agreed to the arrangement initially. However, circumstances had changed. He had lost his job, and with Sarah now taking care of the family's needs, he didn't have a choice but to agree to her decision of bringing me in. Despite the initial awkwardness, I settled into my new role as a caregiver for Sarah and Mike's children. Sarah's absence due to her demanding job as a banker often led to arguments between her and Mike, adding to the strain in their relationship. As I settled into my new role as a caregiver, I found myself immersed in the daily rhythm of Mike and Sarah's household. Sarah's absence from home due to her demanding job often led to heated arguments between her and Mike. Their relationship strained under the weight of accusations and distrust, with Mike frequently accusing Sarah of infidelity due to her long hours at the office. Amidst their discord, I quietly assumed the responsibilities of managing the household. From cooking hearty meals to ensuring the children were cared for and attending to the endless list of domestic chores, I became the glue that held their family together. One day, Mike fell ill, and he asked Sarah to stay at home and take care of him. But Sarah refused, insisting that she needed to go to work because she was on the brink of a promotion. When Mike persisted, Sarah became furious and started calling him names like a lazy man who should go outside and get a job like his peers. This broke Mike down, and he started crying. Sarah left for work, leaving Mike feeling utterly alone. Feeling a surge of empathy for Mike, I couldn't bear to see him in such distress. Despite the awkwardness of the situation, I stepped in to console him. I made him some tea, gave him medication, and cooked a comforting meal for him, trying my best to ease his suffering. As I tended to him with care and compassion, I couldn't help but notice the vulnerability in Mike's eyes. His guard was down, and for the first time, I saw beyond the facade of his tough exterior. In that moment, a newfound connection began to form between us, although I didn't fully understand it at the time. As the days went by, Mike's illness lingered, and I continued to care for him, putting aside my own feelings of guilt and confusion. Each day brought us closer together as we shared stories, laughter, and moments of quiet companionship. Unknowingly to me, my kindness and attentiveness were drawing Mike's attention towards me in ways I hadn't anticipated. Despite the complexities of our situation, a bond was forming between us, one that would ultimately change the course of our lives forever. It wasn't long before Mike found a new job, and I couldn't help but feel happy for him. We both hoped that with his return to work, Sarah would no longer have to work long hours and could focus more on their family. When Mike shared the good news with Sarah, she seemed happy on the surface, but there was a subtle tension in the air. Later, when Sarah went upstairs, Mike and I exchanged surprised glances. Mike remarked that Sarah's reaction wasn't as enthusiastic as he had expected considering the positive news. He confided in me, expressing his frustration with Sarah's behavior, even though he hadn't yet asked her to stop her long hours at work. In that moment, I realized that the dynamics of their relationship were more complicated than I had initially thought. And as I looked into Mike's eyes, I couldn't ignore the growing feelings of affection and longing that stirred within me, igniting a spark of hope for a future that seemed impossible. The next day, Sarah and Mike went off to work as usual, leaving me to take care of the kids and manage the household. After dropping the kids off at school, I returned home, expecting to have some quiet time to myself. To my surprise, I found Mike at home when I walked through the door. I greeted him with a puzzled expression, wondering why he wasn't at work. He explained that he wasn't feeling well at the office, and his boss had suggested he go home to rest. Offering to let him relax in peace, I mentioned that I would go upstairs to unwind before picking the kids up from school later. As I started to make my way upstairs to my room, I felt a sense of unease when I noticed Mike following closely behind me. Despite my apprehension, I tried to remain composed as Mike assured me that there was nothing to fear. Because we were all alone in the house, he took the opportunity to confide in me, expressing his belief that I harbored feelings for him as well. Mandy, I know you've been trying to hide it, but I can feel the connection between us. You don't have to be afraid anymore. His words caught me off guard, stirring a mixture of emotions within me. I felt a flutter of nervousness at the realization that Mike had picked up on my unspoken feelings. Mike, I don't know what you're talking about. We can't do this. Sarah is my sister, and you're her husband. It's wrong. And he said, But don't you feel it too, Mandy? The way we look at each other, the moments we share. It's more than just friendship. It's love. In that moment, the boundaries between us blurred, and I found myself torn between the loyalty I owed to my sister and the undeniable pull of my heart towards Mike. Mike, I know I can't deny that there's something between us, but we can't act on it. It would destroy Sarah, our family, everything. As he stood before me with vulnerability in his eyes, I couldn't ignore the undeniable chemistry that simmered between us, threatening to ignite into something more. I know it's complicated, Mandy, but I can't pretend that I don't feel this way about you. I need to know if there's a chance for us, even if it means risking everything. With a heavy heart and a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, I knew that I stood at a crossroads. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with risks and consequences that I couldn't begin to fathom. That day, despite the growing feelings I harbored for Mike, I refused to kiss him. Though my heart ached with longing, I couldn't bring myself to act on my emotions. Instead, I found myself lost in a whirlwind of confusion, grappling with the sudden turn my life had taken. As I lay awake that night, I couldn't shake the turmoil raging within me. I questioned how I had found myself entangled in such a complicated situation, unable to control the tumultuous emotions that threatened to consume me. Was it mere coincidence, or was I being ungrateful for my sister's kindness towards me? I wrestled with the idea of confiding in Sarah, but the fear of her reaction held me back. Would she believe me, or would she see me as a traitor, betraying the trust she had placed in me? And what about our parents? How could I possibly explain the tangled web of emotions that had ensnared me without shattering their faith in me? With no one to turn to for guidance, I felt utterly alone in my turmoil. My isolation in the city, coupled with my reluctance to form connections with others, left me adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Then, one fateful day, Sarah went out for a party with her friends, leaving me alone in the house with Mike. The kids were spending the weekend at Mike's parents' house, a rare moment of respite in the chaos of our lives. Mike had asked Sarah to stay at home with him, hoping to spend some quality time together. But Sarah, consumed by her desire for a night of revelry, had dismissed his pleas and left without a second thought. As the night wore on and the house fell silent, I found myself drawn to Mike's presence. The tension between us crackled in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the forbidden desires that simmered beneath the surface. Unable to resist the pull any longer, I found myself succumbing to the heat of the moment. In a moment of reckless abandon, I closed the distance between us and kissed him, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and desire. And then, something unexpected happened. As our lips met in a fervent embrace, the world around us seemed to fade away, leaving only the intoxicating rush of passion that pulsed between us. In that fleeting moment, all of my doubts and fears melted away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of longing and belonging. Only time would tell as I grappled with the aftermath of that fateful kiss, unsure of where it would lead me next. As I stood on the precipice of a new chapter in my life, I couldn't help but wonder if I would ever find the courage to confront the feelings that threatened to consume me, or if I would forever remain trapped in the web of secrets and lies that now bound me to Mike and Sarah. Hey everyone, get ready for more drama, twists, and turns in part 2 of this thrilling story. Make sure you don't miss a single moment by turning on your notifications bell that way. You'll be the first to know when the next episode drops. And don't forget to hit that like button and share with your friends so they can join in on the excitement too. Stay tuned for more excitement.